US President Donald Trump says he expects to continue bombing Iran if the US cannot reach a deal to extend the ceasefire by a Wednesday evening deadline.
Well, I expect to be bombing because I think that's a better attitude to go in with. But we're ready to go. I mean, the military is raring to go.
US President Donald Trump speaking to CNBC, the Vice President due to leave for Pakistan soon, where extreme uncertainty awaits. Preliminary talks have been happening for days, but Iran still has no clear indication if its negotiating team will sit down with the Americans. Let's get you to Washington and to Kevin Liptak. What do we know at this point?
Yeah, we still expect J.D. Vance, the vice president, to depart sometime relatively soon from Washington to head from Islamabad. Our understanding is that he has not left just yet, but that interview that the president is still doing right now on CNBC, quite revealing in terms of his approach and attitude to these negotiations. He's feeling very bullish in terms of a deal, but at the same time making clear that he doesn't plan to extend that ceasefire, which he says will expire tomorrow evening, and essentially says he has his finger on the trigger in terms of resuming this conflict if a deal cannot be reached. Listen to a little bit more of how he characterized the state of these talks.
What I think is that we're going to end up with a great deal. I think they have no choice. It is regime change, no matter what you want to call it, which is not something I said I was going to do, but I've done it. Indirectly, maybe, but I've done it. And I think we're in a very strong negotiating position to do what other presidents should have done during a 47-year period.
Now, the president in this interview said that he would be not rushed into a deal, essentially suggesting that he's not looking for something quick and dirty. He wants something that he can come out and proclaim as a good deal for the United States. I think all of that sort of belies the president's political positioning here. You know, he recognizes that this war is unpopular in the United States. It's a war that he said would have been finished by now. And when you talk to officials here at the White House, they make clear that the president recognizes that this war is politically damaging for him, and there, despite what he's saying here, not a lot of attitude for resuming it. And so as the vice president prepares to depart here for Pakistan, of course, the question is what exactly this deal that the president thinks he can secure looks like. What is the concession on nuclear enrichment? What happens to the nuclear stockpile of highly enriched uranium? All of these questions that were sticking points during the first round of talks led to no deal being produced there and remain sticking points now. Of course, President Trump very confident that he was able to come up with something that doesn't resemble the Obama-era deal that he withdrew from, that he continues to decry. But I think very interestingly, the president really putting a lot of stake into his own negotiating prowess, saying, you know, somewhat preposterously that he would have won the Vietnam War very quickly if he was president. So altogether, a portrait of a president quite confident in his ability to bring this war to an end, quite confident in his ability to secure a deal that's good for the United States, but also one who continues to threaten a resumption of this war if these talks don't produce a deal.
We are still expecting Vice President J.D. Vance to leave for Pakistan for peace talks with Iran. Right now, he is still in Washington, set to take part in White House meetings. When or if he's going to leave is still unclear. If there's no deal, a fragile ceasefire will expire tomorrow night. And yet, this morning on CNBC, President Trump said the war is already won.
We've totally won the war. We have totally beat them militarily and otherwise.
And then he said this.
I want to make a good deal. I'm not going to be rushed. I have all the time in the world. I want to make not a good deal. I want to make a great deal.
Josh Dossie, the war is won, and yet he wants to make a good deal. Translate.
I don't know that I can translate other than the president's clearly been frustrated in recent weeks that he and the military aren't getting enough credit for how much they've done to to dismantle the Iranian military and the Navy and what they've done. But this war, according to public polls, is not very popular, right? And a lot of his advisors have been pushing him to look for a way out. We have to have a way to get the Strait open. We have to have gas prices to go down significantly because, the midterms are coming up. A lot of folks are feeling the heat on that. And there's a lot of pressure you feel inside the White House when you talk to people about finding a way to get out. So the president's never going to say, this isn't going well publicly. He's going to say, look at all we're doing and look at these stats and look at this and we've totally won. But you're also seeing a lot of internal angst about, how do they extricate themselves from this prolonged conflict that's dominating the headlines, dominating everyone's attention, causing some public erosion and support. I mean, they're looking for a way out.
We talked on the show about your terrific story over the weekend in the Wall Street Journal, and we talked about your anecdote about why and how the president got to the point where he posted something about Allah in Truth Social. But there's something else that I want to drill down on, a great anecdote in here, and I'm going to read it. This is during the capture, while these two airmen were captured behind enemy lines. Trump demanded that the military go get them immediately, but the U.S. hadn't been on the ground in Iran since the government's overthrow that led to the hostage crisis, and they needed to figure out how to get into treacherous Iranian terrain and avoid Tehran's own military. Aides kept the president out of the room as they got minute-by-minute updates because they believed his impatience wouldn't be helpful, instead updating him at meaningful moments.
Yeah, so what we're reporting there is that for all day on Saturday, the day before Easter, senior White House officials, military officials, everyone called into the Situation Room. And the president was agitated about finding these guys. And he turned to his aides and said, go get them, right? They're two troops. They're down in Iranian territory. But he's not in the Situation Room and he's not with them. And it's not, I think that I've seen some folks on Twitter and on the left say, oh, all of these different theories. It's more, the president's an impatient guy when he wants something done immediately. When he is in the mood to have something his way, he wants it done immediately. And so they left him out of the room because I think they were trying to, they knew this was going to take a long period of time, but there were going to be fits and starts. Obviously, the planes went down at one point in the sand and they couldn't get them, up. The guy crawled 7,000 feet up in the mountain, the guy who they were looking for. I mean, there were all sorts of treacherous things
they didn't want to be distracted
to do here,
by his impatience.
And they wanted him to get sort of regular updates, but not to be in the room for every single particular
thing. It's a very telling anecdote. Let's go back to where we are right now, which is, a holding pattern still. But just talking about what the president has said, maybe in the past day or two, as he tries to continue to push the narrative of the war is won and everything's going to be fine. These are statements that the president of the United States has made that are just not accurate. Vance would not join the second round of negotiations. Well, we'll see. Maybe they'll pull him, but that's not the plan right now. Vance was heading over to Pakistan on Monday. It's Tuesday. He didn't go. Strait of Hormuz is completely open and Hormuz Strait situation is over. We all wish. Iran agreed to turn over its enriched uranium. Iran's military is gone.
Yeah, and listen, some of this is him trying to make the markets respond and respond positively. And some of this is him trying to move the negotiations along. I think, unfortunately, some of this has angered the Iranians, right? This idea that, they've turned over their enriched uranium, for instance, or agreed to do that. That is a huge sticking point, as is the Strait of Hormuz. So this is a president, some of this feels like deja vu all over again, like the days just run together, of him trying to bend the world and bend this war to the way that benefits him on social media and giving all of these interviews. He's on the phone with a reporter every other day making some of these proclamations that turn out not to be true.